What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm back bringing you guys another Pokemon Legends ZA team building guide. Today we're rocking a super spooky team in honor of Halloween, and we're going to be rocking the super-sized Gourgeist, a Pokemon you really don't see that often on the ranked ladder. It doesn't have a Mega, it doesn't hit really hard, but this thing's actually really cool. We're going to have the right mons for the right sort of situations, so if you like this sort of content, you want to see more, maybe think about dropping a sub on the channel, leave a like on the video, and let's hop right into this. So, Gourgeist, yeah, what does Gourgeist really bring to the table? You know, in our team building guides, we really want to break down adding the right mons, adding the right defensive mons, and then adding the right offensive options to help them succeed to their fullest potential. So you can see there's a bunch of different Gourgeists you can actually get. You can get the small one, the super one, the regular size one, and all of them have different stats. Now, if you need help getting different size Gourgeist, I think the best tip to actually utilize is listen to their cry when they're in their Pumpkaboo or Gourgeist stage. The deeper the cry, the bigger the Gourgeist realistically. You can also check their stats when you catch them. When you catch like an Alpha Gourgeist or an Alpha Pumpkaboo or any of these mons, you can actually just plug their stats in whatever level they are in the Pokemon Showdown calculator to see if you have like which form. For this one, we're going to be using the super form of the Gourgeist. It has the highest base HP, it has the highest base attack, and it's sacrificing speed to get this. And speed's just a stat that's not very important on something like a Gourgeist. So realistically, I think that the super one is going to be the best one for this team. Now that being said, it took me a while to get this. I'm not going to lie. It took me probably about an hour and a half to find like a super Gourgeist with like the right stats. It took a really long time, but I know you guys can do it. And I will say you could technically also use Trevenant on this team, but I really think that Gourgeist fits the core of what we're going to be doing a little bit better. So Gourgeist is going to be plugged in right here. Now let's go into the actual defensive type chart calculator and see what Gourgeist is weak against, so we can understand and think proactively to solve our problem. So Gourgeist has weakness to fire, weakness to ice, weakness to flying, weakness to ghost, and weakness to dark. Now it would be really cool if we could add a very unique Pokemon that would cover up for these weaknesses. I don't think there's anything that realistically covers up for all of them without being like a massive hog of stats, but I do think there is something that we could add here, and that's going to be Tyranitar. Now, back in the day, like Gourgeist Tyranitar, that's a staple in VGC, and you can see Tyranitar is also really complemented by Gourgeist defensive stats. What's T-Tar weak against? Water, ground, grass, fighting. These two cover each other like peas in a pod. The only thing T-Tar doesn't cover up for is that ice weakness, but as we know, there's a lot of hidden gems of ice mons on the ladder right now. Avlug, Glaceon, Frostlass, as well as all the things that use Ice Beam as tech. T-Tar has super effective moves against those using rock moves. So I actually think that this is a really cool core. And obviously T-Tar also adds a steel and a fairy weakness. We would like to add something in this last spot to be able to cover up for those, as well as deal more super effective damage into those ice types that give our Gourgeist problems. So when thinking about the last mon for this team, you want to add any mons you could add to cover up for the two or three weaknesses you have open, and cover up for any 4 times weaknesses. We want to double up on the things that resist our 4 times weakness, and T-Tar, as you know, is 4 times weak against fighting. So we already have a nullification on Gourgeist. We would like realistically to add another mon that could also pivot, so we always have a safe pivot away from close combats, brick breaks, things like that. So I think the last mon for this team is actually going to be Charizard. Now, it's not just going to be any Charizard though. I do think we are going to go Charizard X. But you can see when we add the type chart here, it's going to look really good. What's Charizard weak against? Water, electric, things like that. Gourgeist and T-Tar are great mons for covering in and pivoting in and mitigating that damage. So you can see this is what it looks like with Charizard here on our defensive calculator. If we were to make it into Charizard X, you see we gain a secondary ground weakness, but that's where our Gourgeist really comes in. Remember, it has that 122 base defense, really good. You can swap this thing on Earthquake all day, every day. So it's going to be a really cool mon to utilize on this team. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun using this little core right here. So going into our team builder, we can add the rest of our 2 mons. So Tyranitar is right here, and we're going to plug in Charizard X, because that's what we're really going to be using. We're utilizing a physical Charizard for this team. So one thing that I actually wanted to talk about before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of doing all the EV training is we've been making a ton of really cool content on the main channel, right? We've been doing team building guides, tournaments, just a bunch of really cool stuff. If you haven't subscribed yet, please think about dropping a sub. We're so close to getting to 50K. We get closer a little bit every single day. But I want to actually try my best as a team builder to think outside the box and come up with some EV spreads that aren't just your standard 252 because I caught an alpha, and then 252 attack, you know, with like, you know, I want to deviate from this. I see a lot of people doing stuff like this, and I want to tell you guys, you don't have to do these sort of EV spreads. They're fine. They definitely work, but you guys can do better. I can do better. I'm going to do better today. So that being said, the first thing we want to do is set all these level 50 because the rank battle ladder is set at level 50 instead of level 100, and EVs run differently. So the way to actually make different calcs is easier than you might think. A lot of people get really intimidated by having to go into the damage calculator, but what you realistically have to do is, what do I want to hit? What do I want to live? What calcs do I need to do to accomplish those goals? What are some common Pokemon? You can look up tier lists, you can look up some usage stats, you can look up a bunch of different stuff to see what people are using on the ladder. Let's start with Tyranitar, because honestly, Tyranitar for this team is going to be this team's lead. We're going to start with Tyranitar because Tyranitar is the one that has the 4-time weakness to fighting. You know, we're flow charting out our defensive lines here. We can pivot to Gourgeist to block a lot of stuff and then repin. We can pivot to Charizard and then repin. So I think that Tyranitar is going to be a good lead. And I think, like, what is Tyranitar really weak against? You know, Gyarados is pretty good in Tyranitar. Garchomp's pretty good in Tyranitar. So it might be a good idea to pack moves that can actually break those guys. Now, Tyranitar gets a few solid options in this idea here. So you can go Ice Punch. You can go Thunder Punch, right? Or you can go with a special Tyranitar and go Ice, you know, Ice Beam, if I can type, holy moly, Ice Beam and and Thunderbolt, right? So I think that I'm actually going to go with the special variant of T-Tar, because T-Tar actually has a pretty usable special attack stat. And then from there, a lot of those mons take more damage from those moves. Like Garchomp, like, inherently has, like, you know, for example, another thing here, if we plug in like Garchomp on the defensive side over here, let's plug in a Garchomp here. So plug in like a regular good old-fashioned Garchomp guy. So Garchomp has like a higher base defense than Spadef, so hitting it for its weaker defensive stat is going to be better. Also, Tyranitar has, oh, sorry, not Tyranitar, Ice Beam has like 15 more base power than Ice Punch. So realistically, if we were to plug in, let's just hypothetically show you guys what this looks like. Let's plug in Tyranitar over here. And I want you guys to get outside the box and start thinking of like what sort of like anti-meta techs you could be doing. You know, we've done the same sort of thing with Absol here, and it definitely works. So let's plug in like an Ice Beam here and just show you as an example. So like Ice Beam from a T-Tar does 101 to 121 against like a Sweeper Garchomp. Obviously, we're going to throw EVs on this Garchomp to give an example, but let's plug in like an Ice Punch. So an Ice Punch, for example, just because T-Tar's attack stat would be higher, let's max it. You can see how like a max attack T-Tar, we're not using nature here right now. You see how we still do more with Ice Beam? So it might be a better idea to go with like a, you know, special attacker Tyranitar or any mon that really utilizes those moves in any situations. So that being said, let's go back to our T-Tar and think, how much damage do we actually need Ice Beam to KO a Garchomp? You can see right here that it just KOs a Sweeper Garchomp, but every single Garchomp at the ladder is going to have a lot of bulk. So you know that they're going to have that full HP because 90% of the people catch them on an Alpha, and Alphas are good at dealing AoE damage. So you can see our Ice Beam no longer gets that guaranteed KO. Remember, when you're the attacker, you want to look at this low roll. When you're the defender, you want to look at the high roll. So we want to make sure that this KOs Garchomp. Now, I don't think that we need to fully invest with like nature to do that. I actually think there's one more little cheat code that we could do here to actually get our rolls across, and that's going to be the power of plus moves, right? Plus moves are going to be able to greatly amplify the damage on your moves at the cost of some of your Mega Meter, and it's not 100% solved yet how much damage plus moves add, but it looks like they add about a 1.2 to anything that's just hitting for neutral damage, and a 1.3, if not like a 1.35 to anything that would be super effective. That's the calcs that we in the community have figured out so far. So that being said, one way to find a 1.3 and add that onto your mons is calcing with a Life Orb, which is a 1.3 here. So let's plug in a Life Orb. And so you can see how it makes our Ice Beam just a lot stronger here. And then from there, how much damage do we need to KO a Garchomp? Looks about right there. So 124 would get us the KO on the Garchomp. So that's pretty nice. You know, that means we can put a lot more of our points into bulk, maybe even soak some damage from the Garchomp and stuff like that. Maybe eat the EQ, eat the dig, stuff like that. Let's think about a couple other Pokemon we were taking a look at that we actually need to calc for, because just because we can KO Garchomp with the Ice Beam doesn't mean we can KO other mons with other super effective moves. Let's take a look at a Gyarados right here. So Gyarados is going to be right here. Let's give it a 252. Set it to level 50 as always. And, let's see. So we have Thunderbolt here. So Thunderbolt here. So you can see Thunderbolt does not kill that Gyarados. So just because we can kill the Garchomp does not mean we can kill the Gyarados. We need a little bit more. Still going. So 148 looks like it actually gets the kill on the Gyarados. But a lot of Gyarados throw their extra 4 points into Spadef because they, you know, they can, and it mitigates more damage to something like random Thunderbolts like we're using. So when they throw that last 4 in there, it changes our calc back one bit. So what we have to do is actually put a few more points into special attack. And a lot of you guys are probably thinking like, you don't need to do this. This is a team build. This is like an arena game. You're not going to 1v1. But it's like, Well, in this situation, this is an offensive calc. We're trying to get an OCO, right? We're not trying to two-shot. We're trying to get an OCO based off a plus move. So actually, this is exactly the sort of calcs you guys need to be doing in your games. So this Thunderbolt actually does KO Gyarados. So what that looks like on Tranitar, to go back to our little team builder here, is if we put 156, no nature, we can go for Ice Beam and Thunderbolt into Garchomp and Gyarados. And I want to say, this also makes our Ice Beam stronger against Garchomp too. So if their Garchomp was like 2v2 HP with like 44 SpDef, this should still get the KO because we actually like are over KOing it. So really, really cool stuff. And it looks like our EVs here, we can go full HP, and then we just have 100 points extra. And so one like really good rule of thumb is to usually put your natures in whatever like your highest stats are. That way you're going to be giving that 10% boost that goes to those stats to the highest stat. And so what we're going to do is just throw the last 100 points in defense. They're just extra points. Go with the attack reduced nature because we don't have any physical attacks. And that is going to be our T-Tar EV spread. We do all the damage that we need to do against Gyarados and Garchomp, two popular mons that we're trying to pin to unlock the effectiveness of our Mega Charizard, right? Because those are Pokemon that we give Mega Charizard some problems. So by utilizing T-Tar to get those guys off the board and utilizing the fact that T-Tar is technically weak against both those to draw them into me so we can go for a 1v1, we can actually use that weakness to an advantageous spot for us. So the last two moves here, I think we just throw our stabs here. We can go for Dark Pulse. And we can go for Power Gem. Power Gem I know is a really big cooldown, but I think Power Gem's still really good because people are teching a lot of like solid ice types. You see a lot of Glaceons, a lot of Avlugs, a lot of Froslass, and as well as Vanillux is on the ladder because Freeze Dry is just such a good move. So this is going to be a pretty cool T-Tar set. I think the item that we're going to go for here, just an Assault Vest. You don't need to go Mega. It's a great weed. You can soak a lot of damage. You can force the right people to come in, and you can just punish them correctly. You have good damage versus Metagross, good damage versus Gyarados here, good damage versus pretty much everything. You could also technically cut one of the Dark Pulses or Power Gems for something like an Earth Power or a Flamethrower if you are so inclined. I think it's actually a pretty cool set, and let's go into the Gourgeist now and start talking about what Gourgeist needs to do to actually, you know, succeed at the highest level. Base 100 attack is acceptable. Base 85 HP on the 122 defense is actually really good. You're going to be able to soak Earthquakes like it's nothing here. So that being said, let's plug in some Gourgeists here. So we're going to think, when we're calcing with these things, what Pokemon would give Gourgeist the biggest problem? I think Charizard is the one that, like, you know, immediately just sets out as like, this is a problem, right? So Charizard has flying and fire attacks that are super effective into the Gourgeist. So we gotta think like, how are we going to break this? Let's plug in a Rock Slide because Gourgeist does get Rock Slide. I would say Gourgeist does get better, like special coverage, but its attack stat is way higher. So you can see this Rock Slide into a Charizard almost gets the OCO right there. We can go right all the way up, all the way up. So you can see by putting 84 points, we can actually OCO a Charizard if they're just a Sweeper Zard, which again, they never are because everyone uses 252 HP right now. So you can see that gets it out of the range again. So let's see what happens when we put the Life Orb on there, because that would be a plus move, right? Overco's. So how much do we need to take out to actually make sure that we still get that? I think it's right around here, if we can contribute for the fact they might throw their last 4 in defense. Maybe even right there. So 20 points gets us a guarantee KO on Zard with Rock Slide if we use a plus move. And that's great. I think that's honestly really, really cool. Let's calc versus Gyarados and see what this looks like. So Gyarados is another mon that would give the rest of our team problems. So let's plug it in first, a 2v2 Gyarados. You see, Rock Slide doesn't do that much with this Life Orb proc, but let's also plug in Phantom Force. So Phantom Force is going to do 41 to 49. I think that's an okay number with the Life Orb proc. Let's take these out and see what that looks like. So you can see, as long as we're like potentially 3-shotting these guys, that can be pretty good. Because like we can go for a Phantom Force to close, we can go for a Rock Slide, and then we can go for like a finishing like Wood Hammer, or it's Power Whip, right? Power Whip, where are you? So the fact that all 3 of these do over like 30... The combination of them is going to do over 33%, which means you can KO a Gyarados if it's a full HP Gyarados. And if we were to add like a Life Orb to show you guys what the plus power version of any of these would be, you can see there's little combinations of like a higher roll Power Whip plus like a Phantom Force or a Rock Slide KO that would get this. Like this right here is going to, you know, any of these two, if you were to plus power one of them, would actually get the KO with the other one. So that's something that definitely works there. Let's think about a couple other situations. Let's plug in like a Gardevoir here. So let's plug in a Gardevoir. And you can see how like Phantom Force just massively OCOs that. Let's take away our Life Orb boost. So against a Gardevoir. So Gardevoir, we do not KO with Phantom Force, but it would be really cool to KO with like a plus move Phantom Force into Gardevoir. So we do get that KO guaranteed with Phantom Force. Really, really cool. Let's think of a couple other Mons. What's something that would have a common grass weakness? Maybe something like a Greninja. You know, we're just plugging in everything here to make sure that we can actually get these big KOs here. So Greninja gets massively dump trucked by all of those. Even if it has like a full HP set, it's still getting an Oko by Power Whip. With only 20 points. Like, even if they have some other bulk, like, they're still going to get KO'd. Let's plug in a Tyranitar. Opposing Tyranitar, right? You might as well just run some of these calcs too. So a opposing Tyranitar with full HP does not get KO'd, but if we were to plus move it, we can almost get that KO in some situations. Actually, in some situations, if we were to plus the Power Whip and not get a min roll and then like a decent roll off one of these, we can just finish them off right there. So that being said, I think that like 20 points is all you realistically need on Gourgeist. I think what I'm going to do though is put just a little bit more in on my Gourgeist just to cover up for the fact that people might be, you know, taking an extra 20, 28 in these defensive stats. So it's going to be 44 here. And the reason why I think 44 is also pretty good it's going to let us hit a bump on a couple other stats here. Now, if we could realistically just go like 252 right here and max out that defense stat, but realistically what you want to be doing is maxing your HP first, just because like it's a lower stat, so you don't want to be wasting as many points here. We will be going a defense boosting nature, but I think what we can actually do is go for a 244 here and a 220 with a nature here, and you can see right here, it's going to be a bump right here. The 8 points that we have right here is going to give us an extra hit. So we're playing to the bump here, and we're utilizing those extra 20 points in attack as opposed to Spadef on this thing. This because I feel like I want a little bit extra damage whenever possible. But you could technically cut these points out right here and put some of them into Spadef if you felt like it. I just think it's more valuable to put them in attack. But you see, playing for the bump here gives us an extra point that we would have normally had. And remember, the whole point of this mon is to get like as many defensive pivots as possible. So I think this Gourgeist is going to be really good. Our moveset is again going to be things like Rock Slide. It's going to be things like Phantom Force. And you guys are going to be surprised by how hard this thing hits. It's going to be things like Power Whip, like we talked about, and it's going to be Shadow Sneak here, just for any like revenge KOs. I think you could also think about teching in, you know, Trick or Treat if you really wanted to add ghost types to help you hit with like Phantom Forces and stuff like that. But I don't think I really like that. I think I like exactly what I have here, and I'm going to go Citrus Berry. I think Citrus Berry is usable. I think Yachi Berry is another solid option just to make sure you can soak Ice Beams a little bit better. But that being said, this is a solid set. You're going to be able to mitigate a lot of damage, and when people are just like slamming AoE moves and fighting and you're in the middle of the fray, you're going to be the one living. You're going to be like, I'm not doing that much damage, but like I'll get the finishing KO here, I'll get the finishing KO here, I'll get the finishing KO here, and Gourgeist is just going to be a good defensive pivot to soak damage. Now, as for Charizard, what do we really want to do with this thing? Because it's going to be a physical attacker Zard, but what do we really need to hit with it, right? It's going to be kind of hard. I think with Zard, it's probably more important to find the right defensive calc than the right offensive calc. So let's plug in Charizard X on this side, because it's going to be on the defensive side. So Charizard X. And let's plug in Garchomp here. So let's plug in a Garchomp. And let us plug in a full 252 Adamant Garchomp, because that's what everyone's using, right? And let's plug in a Dragon Rush. It'd be really cool if we could live this Dragon Rush in like a 1v1. Right, so Dragon Rush you see does 113 to 134, and remember we're the defender. This is what we're looking at right here. We need this number to be, we're the defender. We need to be this number to be under, right? So we're gonna plug in full HP investment, and then what we're gonna do is just put in defense investment and make sure that number is under 100. Should be about like 120ish, right? About 120ish, right? There. So 124 is actually gonna let us always live that Dragon Rush, and since Dragon Rush is a base 100 move, it's also gonna let us live like any sort of high roll out or high roll Dragon Claw. It's going to let us live low roll outrages, things like that. And like by proxy, this will also let us live like Earthquakes from Gyarados and a bunch of other stuff like that. Same thing, like Earthquake here. Earthquake is the same base, right? So you can see like living that lets us just like 1v1 check the jump. And then like we can just throw the rest of our points. I think it's going to be 132 into attack. And we can go back for a Dragon Rush of our own into the Chomp, and you can see how even if they go full HP, we still get the KO with our Dragon Rush, right? So understanding the defensive calcs are going to be really important. Putting out a bulk on this Zard is going to be really good. I think Zard's going to be a good mon in this meta. It's good into Chomps. You can tech things like Thunder Punch. Let's plug it in Thunder Punch versus Gyarados. So let's plug in Thunder Punch versus Gyarados here. And remember, you maybe think like you're calcing it with plus moves. All megas are plus moves, and Tough Claws is the same calc here. So like that's why like Zard's a pretty easy amount to calc with here. So Gyarados just absolutely dump trucks by this Thunder Punch. Even if they have full, you know, HP investment, the Thunder Punch still gets the OHKO, right? So understanding your defensive calc. So someone just dropped a follow. Someone just dropped a follow my Twitch channel while I'm recording this video, guys. Reminder: go check out the Twitch channel. Go check out the YouTube channel too. If you're having a good time and you're learning stuff from these videos and you're understanding and thinking proactively and trying to like build really cool teams for yourself, and if there's any Pokemon you actually want to see me feature, please let me know in the comments. But drop a sub. We're trying to get to 50k. We get a little bit closer every single day. Going back to our Zard set, it looks like we're gonna go 252. We're gonna go 124 with 132 nature on our Zard, and our moveset is going to be Dragon Rush. It's going to be Dragon Rush. It's going to be Flare Blitz to break things like Skarmory and Excadrill, which are really popular. Not Flame Burst. Flare Blitz here. It's going to be Thunder Punch to break things like Gyarados. And I think the last move, you could put a lot of different stuff. It gets Earthquake. It gets Swords Dance. I'm going to opt to go with Dig, just because I want a gap closer. Actually, I want my gap closer so I can go into the fray, pop out, and just start messing people up. Go for as many KOs as possible. So that is going to be our team here. Again, I really wanted to like take a second to like step outside and move away from those 252 sets. Like, you guys can do a lot more by thinking proactively with your damage calcs. So hopefully this team works, and what we're gonna do now is go play some ranked games. I already have the team right here ready to go. It took me, like I said, a long time to get that Gourgeist with like the super form, because it's really hard to tell in this game, but hopefully we get some big wins, and yeah, wish me luck. Here we go. All right, going to the wide open map. Now, I want to say this team is not going to be about getting like 13 KOs, automatic first place like crazy. It's about correctly mitigating damage and teaching you more about like spacing and stuff like that. It's a good defensive exercise, and let's just play this one out here. Garchomp, huh? All right, and Glaceon. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. If the more I kite towards that Glaceon, maybe the Garchomp will avoid me. Dude, I will win. Dude, I'm T-Tar. And he's orbed. Okay, cool. Good to see. Yeah, you can swap. You can go do stuff. There's the swap. Make sure they don't get this. Yeah, we can soak that damage. We're AV. Okay, swap. Oh, come on, bro. I was caught in like the... I think like Power Gem has like the same cooldown as like Hyper Beam. It's like absolutely ridiculous. So let's go into Gourgeist here. Let's grab all this Mega Energy. I remember we do OHKO Guard here. Can we get the Shadow Sneak to KO? Yes! Gourgeist busted! Gourgeist big busted. I'm gonna grab this. Dude, like, I like how I don't even have to care about damage anymore. Okay, we almost have enough to Mega. Don't care. Gourgeist disappear, pop it like it's hot. Shadow Sneak finish. Oh my gosh, Gourgeist absolutely gaming out here. Yeah, we only have 2 KOs, but like you don't really need to like farm every single KO you've ever seen in your life. I do not need to be fighting that thing. But maybe I could. Good pivot for them. Into a Garchomp. This is a rock and a hard place. Alright, I can pivot to Zard. I need like a little bit more help. Need just a little bit more damage into Shandy. I wonder if that gets the KO. It's way too far away to get that KO with DP. I'm getting dump trucked by this Metagross out here. Yeah, alright, cool. I was out of swaps. Yeah, I did alright. Gourgeist got literally 2 KOs. That's like kinda nice. We need to get ready to go to Zard though. We only have 40 seconds left. And I need Mega Energy. And I just don't have it. Alright, don't kill me while I get this Mega Energy. And I got the plus power, or I got the defense boost too. EQ, see how we soaked that? Oh, whoa. I can't believe we actually lived that. He's really bulky. Can I Thunder Punch, please? What? Please? I really wanted to get that Thunder Punch. There it is. D-Rush. Oh, I got the KO. Oh, I was right about to get the heal. I was right about to get the heal, bro. All right. It's T-Tar here. We can move over like a plus power Ice Beam or something for 5 seconds. For anyone standing. Dang, so I'm gonna get second in this one, but I feel like that was a really, really good game for understanding like what the Gourgeist brought to the table, right? We got the Phantom Forces, we got the Shadow Sneaks. I feel we got to clean up just a little bit in the mid game with our T-Tar, but like, yeah, I think that was great. That was a great game for Gourgeist. All right, going into the vertical / horizontal map, that's probably an okay map. Let's see what happens here. Some 1v1s in with my T-Tar and my Gourgeist. I think the closer, like smaller maps where Gourgeist can just like dance around the middle are probably my best. But that being said, Raichu here. I'm gonna DP this. Decent damage. Might be AV. Surf. Okay, you just walk out of that. DP again. Nice swap. Excadrill, perfect. I'm gonna go for an Ice Beam and then I'm gonna swap. Can we swap, please? Can I swap, please? I mean, I'm trying to swap, bro. I literally was, like, mashing that button. This game has some of, like, the weirdest, like, lag. Oh, well. Yeah, you know what? What are you gonna do, right? Is it Mega? Alright, I'm not gonna deal with that. Dude, this guy was spawning back behind me. Try and pick up a KO. Dragon Rush might almost KO one, and then I can finish off. I eat that! I ate the Zard Rock Slide. Sorry, I ate the Zard Flare Blitz and replied back with that big Rock Slide, dude. That is so good. Gourgeist is like the best Pokemon. Alright, I don't need to deal with that, though. Oh my god, he froze me. Can you not? Alright, fine. That sucks, dude. This is so bad. Can I freeze you back? Alright, here we go. And I'm still frozen. I think I may be able to block that. Nice. Cool. That was really good. I get Thunder Punch here. He's gonna Mega. Oh, I got popped. What popped me? Starmie? Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, you know, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. These are all guys. They're all fighting in my corner here, though. Alright, Aggron here. Mega Aggron. I gotta go Zard. And, like, I don't even have the Mega stuff yet. Grab this so they can't get it. Gotta eat this Mega stuff. 55 seconds. I can Mega now. Blocked. Don't give it to him. Don't give it to him. Mega Excadrill, huh? I clicked the wrong move. My fault. That's right, you're swapping. You're afraid of Gourgeist. I'd be afraid of Gourgeist too. Got it. Dude, Gourgeist is absolutely cooking. I don't even care, dude. Look at this. Gourgeist value. I don't even care. Like, I'm out here gaming with Gourgeist. Somebody has to do it, right? I think that's the thing. Somebody has to be the guy to use Gourgeist, man. It's so hard, but can you see how bulky it is? I think that, like, maybe the T-Tar is being, like, a little bit of a weak link in the team, but honestly, like, Gourgeist is picking up some big KOs, and Charizard's doing alright as well. So I got second the past couple games. I'm gonna win this one to show you guys how to actually play the team instead of just, like, goofing off with Gourgeist. This is probably the best map for the team, I think, so we can definitely win this one. Let's see, though. I think I might want to start with Gourgeist instead of T-Tar, because, like, T-Tar is required to utilize those plus moves unless it's coming in and sniping a KO. But that being said, I do really like the T-Tar here. I can probably still KO a Gyarados here. Unless I got frozen. No. So, like, if I power gemmed there, I would have got the KO. My fault. Just an incorrect little play there. SD Excadrill, huh? What are you using? Brick Break. I'm a ghost type. I'm a spooky ghost type, and you're leaving, right? I love that you're leaving. I love for me that you're leaving. Nice. Gourgeist KO. Gourgeist busted. Phantom Force. Bum 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 bum. Alright, I almost have enough to Mega. Feels great, man. Is that Garchomp? Don't want to deal with that. Gyarados, though? I do. Don't mind if I do. Doesn't even matter what happens to Gourgeist. Like, I just wanted to walk around and get some boosts. Cool. Gourgeist got a KO. That Mega Garchomp is a little bit of a Mega Bully here, but time for Charizard. Oh my god, he's like spawn camping me. It's Vaporeon. Not gonna deal with that. Can you guys get out of my corner? I'm just trying to be Gourgeist over here, and you guys are not being very nice to my Gourgeist. I got some KOs though. I mean, I got a KO out of that. I don't even... Get out of my corner! You know? Sheesh, bro. Alright. Alright, Dragon Rush probably gets that KO. Almost. Don't even care. That's right, everyone's leaving. Everybody's joking now. Time's up. Over. Blow. This probably gets a KO, right? Gourgeist Gaming! I get a full heal on my Gourgeist. Let me get the heal. Let me get the heal on the Gourgeist! Let's go! Alright. That also healed my Zard. Nice. Dude, we're actually cooking this time. Gourgeist is gaming. Alright, T-Tar's the best last Mon here because we can just pick off a KO with like an Ice Beam or a Thunderbolt. Oof. If I can get that plus boost, I can. Oh, just kidding. No! I had it, bro! I had it! Oh my gosh, never lucky. Oh, the Gyarados took the KOs at the very end. I don't think I can come back from this one. Everyone's like KO'd and everything. Yeah, there's nothing I can like one-shot. 9 seconds. Oh my god, yeah, I just popped. It was auto-targeting the Heliolisk. You know what? We threw in that one, but I did my absolute best. I had that one locked up as first, and I kind of just threw it, I think, the last, like, 15 seconds. But, you know what? We still had a good time. If you guys like this sort of content where we feature some, like, lesser utilized mons, like Gourgeist, like AV T-Tar, you know, think about dropping a sub on the channel. We're almost to 50K. We're growing every single day. If you guys like these sort of guides, we feature a bunch of, like, underutilized mons, like, you know, Mega Absol. We feature Aegislash, stuff like that. And also, we're getting ready for an actual Spooky Ghost tournament on Patreon. Every member of Patreon, even the lowest tier, the $2 tier, is going to be able to participate in our Ghost League Gauntlet. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a link to it in the description where you can only use Ghost Mons. So if this video inspired you to utilize Gourgeist to its fullest potential, who knows? It might be the winner of the Ghost League Gauntlet. Happening this Thursday on stream for all Patreon members. So think about checking that out if that's something that seems interesting to you. Think about dropping a sub on the channel. And other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. I'll see you guys next time.